with a focus on asset management products. And then I've got my esteemed colleague, Brad Sullivan. Brad, anything you want to add to that other than
Yep.
the best
Yeah,
first name
sure.
ever?
Yeah. Thanks. I'm Brad Sullivan. I help lead our workplace service delivery solution consultant team here in North America. So happy to be on and working with the other Brad here, talking to all
Yeah,
of you.
let's do it. Quick notice of the safe harbor. We will talk about some roadmap themes later on in the presentation. Safe harbor applies to that. Here's our agenda. We're hoping that you will walk away with the following over the next 60 minutes or so. We're going to talk about the problem statement. Why are we focusing on how to unlock facilities management on ServiceNow? There are reasons for that. We're then going to look at the proposed solution that we offer on the Now platform. We'll then spend some time on the benefits of it. And then we're going to get into a demo. Brad's got a demo queued up, and we're going to get right into the tool and see a flavor of what can be done. As we proceed talking through the slides, feel free to post any questions related to facilities management in the Q&A icon. You should see in your Zoom client a widget for Q&A. Please post it there. That way we can reference it, and whoever isn't speaking, they'll either answer it written right then. We've also set aside some time at the end to go over them. So no verbal Q&A per se, but feel free to post any and all questions there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and kick off one of two polls. We just want to have an opportunity while we've got everyone here to get some of your insights on what you're doing when it comes to facilities management. So here is the first question. We're just wanting to gauge how familiar all of you are with facilities management. We suspect some of you are pretty familiar with it, but let's put that to the test. Right now, the response rate is, I'm going to be honest, it could be a lot better. There's a lot of you on here. You're all stellar people. Let's see if we can get that response rate up a little bit. Now, there we go. There we go. All right. Now we're getting your stellar. Oh, yeah. Yes, we are above 80%. And if all else fails, apply the 80-20 rule. This is a great example, smattering. Let me go ahead and stop it there. I'm going to go ahead and share the results. And as you can see, and as we anticipated, but it's nice to see it, we've got people in all of the four. Granted, there's a lot of flavors that maybe don't fall in these four buckets, but everyone is in a different spot, which is great. I'm real excited about that. Brad, anything you want to take away from that before we get into the content?
No, I think you nailed it. It's perfect. That's what we expected. Just to kind of, as ServiceNow, we know there's lots of people with different journeys, different parts of the businesses within our customer base. So it's great that we've got a sampling from all parts here.
Yeah. All right. One more poll later, but we'll save that for later. Let me go ahead and move through the slides here. Sorry, I should have extended through to start. Problem statement. Let's take a step back and talk about why we're all here. Facilities management is the convergence of activities required to maintain buildings. That is, if you could summarize it in a sentence, that's one way to do it. This is often made up of three key activities. First, managing the real estate lifecycle. So that actual real estate portfolio, you need to manage it. Managing the asset lifecycle. By that, we mean the assets that are within the real estate. And then, of course, performing service management on the assets. And then, of course, the real estate experience itself. And when you have those three key activities, you'll notice in the middle of this Venn diagram is the intersection of the tasks and workflows to bring them together. That is what facilities management is all about, is bringing these three distinct yet interconnected activities together in the service of the facility. With that definition, we can look at some of the challenges that make up this problem statement, and that essentially moving the maintenance ratio from reactive to proactive results in direct benefits to the bottom line. And these statistics here are showing the potential benefits of increasingly becoming more proactive in those three activities that we were mentioning earlier. So if you're more proactive in maintaining the assets, maintaining the real estate, and then servicing them accordingly, there's an opportunity to see some top line reduction in that facilities management spend. So these are some of the challenges that are increasingly showing themselves in facilities management as we proceed here in the years ahead. This leads to not only challenges, but with challenges, there are, of course, opportunities to execute on those. I'll point out a couple in particular: rising maintenance costs. So this is very, I find this one is quite acute to what we've been speaking about so far, is that as we increasingly have these more complex real estate portfolios and these more increasingly complex assets, whether they're connected, by that I mean an Internet of Things type device, or still if they're perhaps more old school and not connected, they're increasingly complex and necessitate maintenance. And so as those costs rise, there's an opportunity for us to meet that challenge with more proactive preventative maintenance. Another technology challenge that I find quite acute in this environment is visibility into asset data. This is where the solution we'll speak to here shortly, offered by ServiceNow, I think is a key value proposition, in that we're taking all of that asset data that may or most likely does reside in disparate systems and bringing it onto the Now platform, and using that bread and butter Now data model, CMDB driven, to give you that visibility, so that as your maintenance costs rise, you know what assets are impacted, in what facility they reside, and then knowing, do I have the equipment, parts, personnel necessary to address that need. Brad, anything you want to add to this just before I move on to the next slide?
No, I think this is good. And then, of course, the broader concept is how are the assets and how are facilities changing, right? How has, the post-pandemic world changed what we're doing from a facilities management perspective as a whole? We've got buildings that have different occupancy levels than they did before. And so that's massively changing our approach to facilities. Do I have to clean them as often as I do? How do I run the systems in the most efficient way? Do I understand when people coming in, starting to tie that into, the broader other parts, the space management components and those sort of things. But our facilities management has changed because our real estate utilization has changed as well, right? So when we look at that challenge and opportunity, that's obviously a big driver as well.
Totally. And thank you for the call out. IFM, that acronym stands for Integrated Facilities Management Solution. So I always try to type out the acronym. So thank you for catching that. That's what it stands for. These are more data points related to what we've been discussing, and what we're trying to do here, especially with this bottom quote from Gartner, is make clear that this is something that is being seen within the analyst environment too. Now, that Gartner quote, it is talking about EAM, which stands for Enterprise Asset Management, which is a component that makes up facilities management. So acknowledge that they're not talking explicitly about facilities management, but facilities management without enterprise asset management is only going to go so far, as we've laid out here further, and we'll make out here in the solution that we're going to talk about shortly. And what we're seeing here is that real estate continues to change, assets continue to change, and how they're made up and what they do. There's a significant replace upgrade phase that we're noticing in the market. So that just gives some context to some of the things we're talking about. And another visual to what we've been speaking to, there's all kinds of things going on in the support of a facility. So whether it's technology management, whether it's all of these other things that need to be integrated with the management of that facility. Right now, we find that with a lot of environments, the process is nonlinear and there's a lot of silos. And part of that's unavoidable. I mean, there's always going to be nuances that need to be addressed. What we're curious about and what we're going to explore with our proposed solution is how we can layer a unified solution on that so that we're bringing a level of consistency that allows for the people charged with providing a delightful facilities management experience, the data they need, and that within the various components that make that up, the end users are getting what they expect, and it's suited to their needs. All right, so let's jump into the proposed solution here. I'll kick off this slide, and then Brad, I definitely want to get your take on it, and then I think there's 2 slides that you're going to speak to. So this is ServiceNow's approach to facilities management. And you'll remember those 3 key activities that I talked about. Well, here's what we're doing to address those on a platform powered by Gen AI and various other capabilities. So at the bottom, we've got the building and the facilities and managing the real estate lifecycle for those. We've, of course, got the assets that comprise those and managing the lifecycle of those assets. I will spend some time later on here talking about the unique considerations of an asset lifecycle as opposed to a building facility lifecycle. And then, of course, the servicing. So how can we serve both of those levels of the pyramid that you're looking at here in a way that's as proactive as possible? Brad, anything you want to add to that?
Yep. Nope. I'll just add a couple of points, and you touched on it, right? I wanted to talk about this, and when we talk about the solution, right, it is directly aligned with what Brad was going over earlier around those kind of 3 bullets or those 3 bubbles that we saw. A lot of people don't necessarily think of ServiceNow historically in this context, but I think it's important to understand how we've evolved as a company and how we've been going about this for the last couple of years, right? The idea at that bottom, and you look at those 3, right? We have to have a building, right? Whether we bought it, whether we lease it, whether we constructed it from scratch, right? And what are the things that go into that, right? There's ServiceNow. Part of our solution is around those elements, whether I'm building it and doing a project around the construction of it, whether I'm leasing that building, and then I need to manage those lease contracts. Then I have the building, I have to put things into it, right? I need things that operate it, make it run, do all the heating and cooling, allow us to actually use the building, inclusive of people, right? And we're not necessarily talking about the space management component, but that is part of the solution. That I have to have people in that building. If there's not people in the building or things that are going on in the building, like we talked about, maybe that facility is no longer of use, or we're going to repurpose it or get out of those leases, right? But we have to start putting things in and using it. And then we have to service. We have to make sure it works, right? Do we have a good service management component to our facilities, whether that's the maintenance component, the preventive maintenance components, whether that's part of the employee experience, right? As we talk about the concepts of making our facilities places that employees want to be in, making them part of our culture centers, making them a place where we can go to do the specific types of work that we need to do. Yeah. We want the facilities to support that. And if things are broken or things are not working or things are not supporting our employees, that just makes them that much less likely to want to go in and removes or reduces the value of our facilities as a whole. So that top part about servicing is of utmost criticality. If you've got something that is always broken and you can't use it as an employee, again, what does that mean for my employee experience? So taking that approach that ServiceNow does very well, applying it to all of the core fundamentals around the facilities management. That's really where our strategy is aligned.
Absolutely. And Brad, while you're on a roll here, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak a little bit to the workplace service delivery component of this. I see questions in the Q&A. Keep them coming in. I'm going to see if I can answer a few right now. But Brad, give us some of your insights on workplace service delivery.
Yeah, so absolutely. So as we look at the solution, we've got different applications for different parts of this facilities management journey, right? So what are the things that you need? When we talk about workplace service delivery, we've got that workplace experience. I just talked about that. What is my experience from an employee perspective? We're going to show a little bit of this. Something is broken. I need something. I have a request from the facilities. How do I create this bidirectional interaction with my employees to improve my overall experience and make my facilities the type of place that everybody wants, and it's being the most efficient and productive for my workforce. The workplace management component, a lot of that falls into here. The space management, the indoor mapping that you're seeing there in the pictures, the mobile experiences around doing things like wayfinding, whether I'm an employee and I just need to find my way around the office, whether I want to use the map to report that something is broken or there's an issue, whether it's my technicians who need to find their way to where that location is, and then fulfill the work in a mobile experience, right? To be able to do that at the point of issue, not have to come back to their desk and type that back into a system. They can do all of that at the point of issue at their fingertips. All of the other parts around what we talked about, the lease of buildings, started tying into all of that space management component. And then another part of it, equally important, but sometimes thought of differently, is the health and safety, right? How do I provide a safe environment, whether it's things like workplace injuries that happen in the office, and do all of the reporting and governmental standards that happen around that, whether it's just doing physical security, these types of things around the health and safety of my employees in the office becomes bigger and bigger to the point where this is being legislated globally in many different ways, but very specific requirements around the health and safety. And so a comprehensive solution around that component. So we can go to the next one.
Yeah, just click here.
Yep, I think it's, oh, you pick up here?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll speak to this a little bit and then gonna tag team back here with Brad on some more in-depth feature slides. But when we talk about asset lifecycle management, which is very much in service of what Brad was just speaking to, the facilities management solutioning on the Now platform offers multiple out-of-the-box workflows to address the functionality for every asset lifecycle stage. So you can see right here, what we've done is our product offering within the facilities management solution, from basically planning to retiring of the assets and parts. We have various features and workflows to address common use cases. Should there be unique considerations for your organizational needs, which there always are, as always, all of our workflows can be configured as needed in a low to no code format. But that said, you can see the ones that we found through our due diligence, both internally and then working with design partners, et cetera. We've got a lot of out-of-the-box workflows that I think it's pretty safe to say are going to be ubiquitous regardless of industry that the facility is servicing. I'm going to speak to some of these here in a second. So if you're looking for more info on all of these, by all means, head over to ServiceNow Docs. And that's something that you can look into, but I'm going to talk about some of these more here in a second. Let's talk about those solution benefits a little bit. And Brad is going to go ahead and talk about a few related to workplace service.
Yep. So, what we're showing here is just a couple of concepts around the employee experience, right? We're showing this from these screenshots in the mobile. We'll show some of this in the live demo as well. All of this is available in the portal or the desktop browser type interaction as well. But when I look at the employee experience, what are the things that I need? And how do I interact with my workplace, right? Case management, work order management, something is broken. I want to report that issue in the workplace. I need something, right? This may be tied to my day-to-day activity. I need catering brought in, or I want the room set up in a certain way, or I have different requirements for my team meeting as I come into the office. What are the things that I need and I want to request? Or again, identify that something is broken or in need of repair. Be able to provide that experience to the end user. Make reservations, find space, whether it's a conference room, training room, parking space, locker, any number of different type space interactions. Can I reserve those? Again, a little bit, not what necessarily what we're talking about today, but I'm also tying that into the facilities management component. So maybe I'm booking a space, and as part of that reservation, I need services brought in to support that reservation. So can I tie those experiences together? And so I don't have to jump between multiple systems to get the things I need to support my day-to-day activity in the workplace. The mapping component, how do I use the maps? Whether I want to find the type of space, whether I want to navigate around, whether I want to report an issue on that map, pull that map up and say, here's where the problem is. And it pre-fills in all of that information for my facilities team on the back end. Like we talked about, using the technicians being able to navigate and wayfind to where the issue is. Tying in visitor management. So again, I have visitors coming in. What is the visitor experience as well as the experience I as an employee have for registering those guests? What are the services, activities that potentially tie into my facilities team to support that interaction? Maybe we need something set up again to support a group of visitors coming in. We have badging requests, any number of things that come into my facilities that have to be done to support the overall visitor experience. And then we tie that into the overall ServiceNow portal and employee experience. ServiceNow's strategy is around a single pane of glass, if you will, a one-stop shop for people to go in, whether they have IT needs or HR needs or workplace needs, legal needs. Where's that one place they can go to find what they need and not have to jump back and forth between different systems? So the facilities management, the workplace services, all tied into that same strategy of using that unified portal for employees to go to interact. All right. And then the next one, now I think we're going to kind of jump into what is the back end, right? So you've got that front end. What is that employee experience? How do they interface? How does that start to feed into the back end, right? So whether that's what we call our Workplace Central, that workplace or workspace, excuse me, for my facilities technicians, my space managers to go in. These are how I do my work, from setting up my maintenance schedules to working the cases that come in to understanding the analytics around what's happening. How do I do the work that I need? See the leases that I have, all of the information from a back-end administrative perspective. How do I start to see that in one place? Do the space management, move management. I'm moving the people in and out. I'm redefining my space and how that's being used, understanding my occupancy and my utilization metrics that tie into my facilities. We talked about the maintenance and the lease as well, right? So this is that one place where the back end, my admins, my teams, they come in, they do the work that's specific to them. And then feed all of that up into my analytics to help me make more intelligent decisions. And of course, all of this being tied into the AI components. How does AI start to drive insights and analytics so I don't have to necessarily dashboard everything? There's so many sources of data in the facilities world, whether they're our ticketing systems, whether our sensor systems, our building automation systems. Those are providing us lots of information. A lot of times the challenge is, how do I understand and analyze the information that's being presented to me? So can I pull that together from different sources, right? Through ServiceNow's integration framework, you're going to be able to pull data from different sources, put that together into one place to analyze it, and then leverage the AI to do a lot of the analysis for you. Just kind of, we'll kind of do through here, right? We talked about maintenance. Can I create preventive maintenance schedules? Preventive maintenance schedules are, I think fairly straightforward in the industry. I need to do maintenance on these things at this time. And how do I track that it's starting to be done? We'll show a little bit of this as we go through the live demo. Next. All right, case management workspace experience. I need that experience from the front end. what is the employee experience? How do they interface with the technician? So not only the employee experience, the technician experience, do I have a seamless back and forth? Maybe this starts to tie into external vendors. Same with the preventive maintenance component. How do I tie this into third parties? Can I easily send this off to to other vendors? How do I interface with them? Lots of different ways to do that. From the ServiceNow portal into their systems, whether they're coming into ServiceNow in a vendor portal to do that, whether I have a dispatch component, right? I have a field team that is going to go out and do the work, or a vendor that's going to do the work, but I have a dispatch team that is taking in customer support cases and dispatching the maintenance out to those teams, right? That's all tied into depending on the use case you have, and you may have multiple different use cases, whether you have a certain capability that and a process that you're using for your corporate facilities, and a different one you're using for your remote retail field sites. Those are very different animals, but we have the solution for both, and then we set it up accordingly to make the best use of that. Yeah. Agent app, again, whether that's this is for those technicians, they need to be able to come in, do the work at the point of issue. We'll show this in detail in the demo.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So please, we're going to show a good amount of this in the demo. So we want to make sure we save time for that. So in addition to that, let's talk about some of the asset features and functions that will be performed in service of what Brad was speaking to just now. So this is an example of an out-of-box workflow that comes when you invest in the facilities management solution. And so what it shows is that it addresses multiple personas within this facilities management experience. So the moment an end user identifies the need for an asset and vocalizes that need, often through the service portal or perhaps otherwise as well, that will allow the person in charge of asset management, regardless of what their title is, to check inventory and then determine, do they have existing inventory that they can pick or transfer from, or if not, go ahead and initiate that procurement so that they receive the asset, that need is met. And oh, by the way, every step of the way that's been done, it's been documented with data on the Now platform. So when we're talking about acquire and to install workflows, assets in service of these facilities, that's something that is very well thought out of on the Now platform and fundamental to what we do. This is one example of the enterprise asset workspace, which comprises the facilities management solution. And so what we're looking at here is specifically the procurement module. And this is something you can think of as a central hub for your procurement lifecycle. And ServiceNow is all in on the workspace view and providing these increasingly visualized driven data environments so that you can look at things with key metrics relating to your vendors, sourcing requests, and order statuses. So however your organization handles procurement for your facilities, you can address that in this procurement module and then have a way to report on it, not only for you and your team, but for who your stakeholders are that need to be informed accordingly. Asset total cost of ownership. This is a really cool feature. I'm speaking personally. I think this is a feature that I'm real excited to see how customers continue to use this, and especially as we work more with facilities use cases. What we're showing here is, if you look at that second screenshot down there, you obviously see 3 bars that make up that graph. In the middle, that solid blue bar, that is the benchmark cost for an HVAC made by a specific manufacturer. And so out of the box, that benchmark is calculated at a percentage based on the purchase cost. I don't remember the exact percentage off the top of my head, but the point is you can configure it. So you can choose to stick with that benchmark cost, or you can choose to amend it based on your own internal due diligence of what an appropriate benchmark cost is. So what that's telling us is, hey, we think that is a fair benchmark to assess how much these assets should cost from an ownership perspective. On the left side of that blue bar is one type of model of HVAC made by this manufacturer. And what you can see right there is, and I recognize some of the prints a bit smaller, what that's showing is that the various costs related to maintenance, related to servicing, related to procurement that add up and clearly show that that asset is above the benchmark cost. And then if you look on the right-hand side, you will see the other model that shows, while it's perhaps closer to the benchmark cost than we would like, it's clearly less from a total cost perspective compared to its, shall we say, competitor model on the left-hand side. This data allows us to really look for opportunities. If we go back to the challenges slides that we were talking about earlier, what are ways that we can first and foremost ensure that we're servicing our facilities correctly and we're providing a great experience? That's paramount. Are there ways that we can do that in the most cost-efficient way possible? If both of these HVACs are providing a great experience for the end user, then perhaps we need to seriously consider standardizing for the HVAC on the right. That's just one example of the total cost of ownership feature. Whole lot more to discuss about that. I encourage you to go to docs. Would love to hear your thoughts on it more as well. Feel free to add more questions to the Q&A. I'm going to talk a little bit about roadmap themes, and then we're going to stop with the slides and get into a demo. So safe harbor applies, and this is obviously very high level. There's a lot of nuance below these, but what are some of the themes that we're discussing? The two that stick out to me, well, I should say three, and then I'll allow Brad to provide any of his thoughts as well. If you go to the upper right, you'll see the modernize. I know we've gotten a couple questions about maintenance plans and maintenance schedules. So we're looking at ways that we could potentially leverage Gen AI to plan maintenance across asset models. So going back to the slide I was just talking about for total cost of ownership, identifying the most cost-effective models in service of our facilities. What's a way that we can really enhance that both from a usability and effectiveness perspective with Gen AI so that we can get more proactive in what we're trying to do? And if we get more proactive, we think we have some opportunities to reduce the bottom line for our facilities management. Staying with Gen AI, I invite you to look in the bottom left for next generation employee experience. So again, using Gen AI, what are some ways that we can perhaps create a great workplace experience with those intelligent recommendations and then that interactive workplace assistance? So if you think back to that acquire to install workflow, what are some ways that we can further enhance that for the end user to make it even more easy for them to submit the need for whatever, be it an asset or a servicing of facility, and do it in a way that's efficient and effective as possible? Another one that I'll highlight, and then I'll allow Brad to add some insights, is smart building integrations and insights. While this isn't perhaps tied to Gen AI, I always like to find opportunities to talk about, I said it before, the bread and butter of ServiceNow, and this is exactly that. What are ways that we can bring all this data that's increasingly coming from everywhere, even for our buildings and our facilities, and ensure that it's working on the Now platform? And so that when we task our technicians to do things within our facilities, they're working with the most accurate and most reliable data possible. This is fundamental to all these things we're talking about, and the ability to ingest all of that on the Now platform is just something that we continue to keep our eye on as smart buildings continue to become the norm. Brad, anything you want to add to that?
No, sorry, I was trying to answer some questions here, but I think that's great. The big driving theme you talked about was how do we continue to expand the experience for both the employees and the back end agents? How do we be able to pull in more data and analyze data? How do we start to get data from other
Right.
systems, and how do we add that AI on? I think you covered all of those. I just reinforce that. And then I know there's a question in there around the overall reporting and analytics capabilities. Yeah, at a broad sense, that is something we as a platform continue to invest in. What does our performance analytics and our platform analytics capabilities do from that? And as well, how do we continue to drive AI into all of the analytics across the platform, not just in the facilities management capability?
Right. All right. Well, Brad, when you're ready, feel free to grab control of the screen and get us out of these slides. Let's check it out in the
Absolutely.
product.
All right. Yep. Just do a quick time check. All right. So we'll spend about 10 minutes or so. I want to leave time for Q&A, or make sure we get to everybody's questions and some wrap up here. But what I'm going to start with is, what does that employee experience start to look like? So I'm going to bring up, and we're going to look at my mobile phone here. I'll give that just a quick second to make sure it all comes up. So you're looking here at the ServiceNow mobile app. This is where employees can come in. They're looking again, what is it I need from the business, whether it's IT, HR, workplace, et cetera, that single place where everybody can go in. Of course, this is all available on in the portal and the web page as well. We're going to show up from mobile here for purposes of this demonstration. But what are the things that are being driven to me from an event perspective? What is happening in the office today or next week? What are the things that are happening? I could come in here and let's just say, we're going to kind of look at this from a maintenance perspective or facility maintenance. I've all gone ahead and pre-typed this, but I'm looking, some issue with maintenance. There's a catalog item to submit a maintenance request. Maybe I'm not entirely sure this is a maintenance request, so I just want to submit a general request. I'm going to click on that there, and it's going to bring me to that form here. And it's going to ask me the questions. What can we help you with? Where is this issue at? Is this on a specific asset that is it something that is mine? That belongs to me? Is it something that's just in the office in general, and any additional details? I'm going to kind of skip this. I'm not going to fill this out. This is available here. But what if we could make this even easier, right? What if I had the idea of QR codes in all of my spaces? So I'm going to kill the app, and I'm going to open up, and I just walk by. There's an issue in the room, or in the restroom, or the break room, or in my conference room, and I scan the QR code. And the QR code now takes me specifically to the app again. And now here's that space. Now I can interact with that space as well. I see the picture of the space. I understand it. We could tie this into the reservation management. I could reserve this space. But if I click up here at the top, you can see I could submit a request. And now I'm just going to submit that request. You can see it brings me to that same form we just had, right? That same thing. But what it's done is it's pre-populated the location. I don't have to go down and pick what the location is. The QR code immediately lets me know what that case is. And then it might, where those assets are, it might have that list of assets that are pertinent or in that room. So if I want to pick something in there, I could pick that. But we could just say, hey, something is broken. Right, maybe it's the projector, et cetera, and or the video conferencing equipment. Maybe just the room is too hot. What are the things that might require facilities work in here? And I'm going to go ahead and submit that. So now, in just a couple of clicks, scanning the QR code, I've reported that case. We've created that experience now. So where I'm at as the employee, I can go ahead and submit that issue and move on with my day. I haven't burdened the employee with asking a bunch of questions about what the asset is, what are the details about it. You can simply just say, hey, here's what the problem is. You can ask more questions. All of those forms are configurable. Those who understand or work with ServiceNow every day know how easily you can configure these forms. But the idea is, how do we make an easy experience for somebody? Because this is a lot of times our front end for our maintenance component. So how do I start to bring that in, make that very easy to report? Now, I'm going to jump over. Now, what happens with that case, right? Now I'm going to kind of jump over. We'll drop this off so it's not that's distracting. Now I'm into the agent app, right? I'm going to go ahead and refresh this because we just opened up a new case. But I came in, I'm in the ServiceNow agent app. And now here's my overview as the agent, right? I can see the work that's been assigned to me. This is all the different work that has come in. Here's some group work, right? The unassigned work. And here, right there on the left, that's that case that we just opened. We said something is broken. Here's that space. So now I can see, because that case was automatically assigned to my group, and through the auto assignment rules based on where that case was opened up, what type of case, any details about that, that can help assign it to the appropriate team. And maybe we assigned it all the way down to the individual, but in this case, we've assigned it just to that team. And now the team can look and see what their group work is, and they can see all of the unassigned work. I can simply open that up, and now I'm going to go ahead and pick it. I'm going to assign it to me because I'm in the area. I can now go ahead and work this case. It's now been assigned to me. I can see the information about it. I'm going to come back into my work view because I want to see something very specific. But now it would be in my work, and here we go. We're looking at all of the different things. Maybe at the same token, I have preventive maintenance. So that something is broken, case was open to me. I opened it, I assigned it to me, I walked by. It was an easy fix. I'm done. But the next case I see, I also have now a planned maintenance case. It's in the same place. The case is created. This is my work, whether it was corrective, whether it was preventive, it was sent to me. I'm looking at this preventive maintenance case for this HVAC system that's been set up. And I have all the information, the location, the asset details are all in here. What maintenance plan record it's been assigned to, all of that detail is here for me. That is all generated by the maintenance schedule and then presented to me as the technician with how I start to format this. I can edit this. I can also click up here on our little map icon, and now I'm bringing up that map, and I can see on the map where this particular asset lives and where this issue was opened up. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to get directions, and we're going to pick a spot, just something simple over here. And now I have those turn-by-turn directions taking me through the office. I can go between buildings, up and down floors, through campuses, into the basement, out into the parking lot, et cetera, wherever I need to go from a mapping perspective. I can also have multiple routes if I need ADA type routes that don't take me up and down stairs or through the front up. They take me to the wheelchair ramp, et cetera, whatever I need from marking the different routes. I can have that there. And just to bring up some additional information, we can have things like checklists. So here's the checklist I have for this particular asset. This is driven by what that maintenance schedule was, what template has been provided. Here's all the checklist items I need to go through. I can mark these off one by one as I'm doing this maintenance. If I even want to see any attachments, I don't know if I don't have any attachments. Maybe I have the manual set in here. We'll see that in another place, but all the different information is available for me here. I can take a picture of it, add additional attachments into the case. I can do all of the fulfillment here in this case as I come through. And as I make the updates, maybe I'm sharing that back with the person who opened the case so they understand what's going on, how it's been moving, or maybe I'm even assigning this out to a third party, right? So I know that question has come up, but this has been assigned to my team. Maybe I need to reassign this case out to a vendor. And it's going to assign them out, and through various different mechanisms, that vendor can now pick this case up. A couple of different options that exist there, whether we just let them know and they work out of their system, whether we build an integration into their system, or whether we have a vendor portal where they come in and actually do this and interact with ServiceNow. All of those options exist for interaction with our vendors who may or may not be doing the work. And then because it's ServiceNow, I could tie in potential child cases. You can see here I have child cases and child tasks. Maybe there's an IT element. We talked about the idea and the proliferation of IoT into our building automation devices. Maybe there's an element that belongs to the network team. That's why this isn't working. There's a problem with the network connection. I need a child case or a child task that I route off to my IT team. This could be very easily done. And because it's all on the same platform, very easily, no integration required, the IT team can work out of theirs. And as they update in, say, ITSM, the notes would get updated here. I can track that at the broader level of the maintenance work order wrapper. Okay, so now we've kind of gone through that experience. We've gotten the case, we've opened it, we've worked it as a technician. How do I now start to understand the broader maintenance components of of my backend. What does my maintenance start to look like? And so we're in here in our workspace. This is the newer ServiceNow Workspace. But this one starts to show me different information about my assets and my facilities maintenance. I'm in here looking at my work management component. I can see any number of different factors here, the work that has been opened, all of my maintenance plans, details about how the work orders are progressing, what state they're, what priority they've been in, how they've been assigned to the different groups, what does their workload start to look like, what are trends and analysis around the work, how as a manager can I do this, or if this was just, this could be unique to me as an individual, and it's just going to show me my work that's been assigned to me as an individual or me as the team, or again, looking at it at a broader facilities component. But I'm going to jump in here to a maintenance plan. You can see all of the different maintenance plans we have set up. We can have as many as we want. We're going to go ahead and look at one very specifically. I've already set this up, but the idea is I need to create a maintenance plan on things, right? And so we've created the filter. What are the maintenance plans that we're going to do? Maybe I'm doing it on my HVACs in this case, but I want to split it up. I want to do HVAC maintenance on half the building on one schedule and the other half on another schedule, just so all of them aren't coming due at the same time. How do I start to break that up? I can create multiple different plans. I can see what the schedule is. For purposes of demonstration, we made a weekly one, but I can set up what that trigger is, whether I want to open this up based on a duration, based on a meter, based on a condition, right? This is where we start to tie potentially into that building automation stuff. Those details can trigger when these maintenance schedules are going to come out. Maybe it's based on a certain number of hours, or if it exceeds a threshold, a temperature threshold that a sensor is telling us, it's going to open up a case on that. We can set up different things, the time when we're going to do it, when it's open, how much advance notice do we want to give our technician, what templates are we going to assign to it. So as the case gets created, we're going to apply a template. So we know it's going to get it assigned to this group. This is the checklist. This is the manual we want to provide. All of that information is pre-populated into the case based on the template. And you can have all the different templates you want. What is the details of the case? When that technician gets it, all of that information is in. They're consistent. They all know what is to expect, and they have the same information based on the type of work that schedule is creating. We can see in here all of our records. These are the 6 assets that are part of this schedule. We know when it was last run, when it's next going to be run, and what are the work orders, right? Now we're actually starting to come in here and create these work orders. And as I come in, I can see the details of that particular work order. We looked at a work order on the mobile side. Same thing from the desktop side. I can see the information about it, those tasks, those part requirements. As I start to fulfill this, maybe I need to start consuming parts. They're coming out of stock rooms. I'm auto replenishing those parts as I start to use them up. And again, tie in that mapping capability to see exactly where that asset is. As I come back in now, the last part, how do I look at the specific asset? So we've talked about the maintenance, right? We've done the maintenance. We've tied that into the preventive maintenance scheduler. And by the way, that preventive maintenance scheduler, as you onboard these assets, I can start to immediately add those into my preventive maintenance schedule. So when I onboard the asset, it can go right into the preventive maintenance schedule required for that asset. So I don't have to do a lot of work to go readjust my preventive maintenance scheduler. I just simply say, any new assets that are of this, that meet those filter conditions, go ahead and bring them in. Next time that runs, that asset is now included in that maintenance schedule. But when I want to look at, another example of dashboarding by the asset specifically, right? I'm looking at my asset estate here. What are all of the different details about it? And I won't go into all of the details, but I want to start to understand what assets are up for refreshment. Can I know what assets are coming due, end of warranty, end of life? Can I forecast that out based on the cost and start to say, hey, I'm going to need budget for these particular assets next year. And it's going to cost me about this much money, and I need budget to start replacing some of these that are coming end of life. Can I start to make repair versus replace decisions based on how much we've, what our total cost of ownership of those assets has been? But I want to come in here and look at specific assets. And I'm going to see here, we've got this HVAC in here, system in here. Now I'm starting to look at the details of the asset itself. Here's that manual that's associated to it. Again, I can bring in the map. Where does it actually sit in my portfolio? All of the details about that asset. When did I buy it? And this is full life cycle from the time I bought it to the time I dispose of it. What is the information about it? Down to the failure risks. Tie this into my overall risk management components of, specific to these assets. Financial data, depreciation, et cetera. All of this I can start to understand about my asset and report and make decisions on. If I want to understand my warranty contracts on it, that can be all in here. The maintenance plan records that this is assigned to, any knowledge, and of course the history of work orders. So that's the full detail of the asset that I'm now starting to track and tie into the overall portfolio and estate of assets that I have. So with that, I'll kind of wrap it up here from a demo perspective. But if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it back to you, Brad.
Thank you so much, Brad. There are a few questions in the chat, so let me go ahead and pull up the slides. So while I'm doing that, feel free to address a couple of them real quick.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of start while you're doing that. Jeremy, you had a question regarding Employee Center and the out-of-box components tie map data into current incident management. So when we talked about that mapping as a application is now available throughout the platform. So we have indoor mapping that provides you the space hierarchy. So those familiar with ServiceNow, the idea is we had a location table. Indoor mapping provides a hierarchy structure, space, floor, building, et cetera, that is going to be available across the platform. If you have, let's say, workplace service delivery, that hierarchy is now available to all of your applications. You can start using that. It's just an extension of the location table. You can start to leverage that. Now, each of the individual products use ITSM, HR, et cetera. They will take that indoor mapping, they will adjust their roadmap and add components in to see their particular use cases on the map. So if you want to start to see IT assets or HR cases, et cetera, the use of those will be driven by each of their roadmaps, but the hierarchy and the structure of the location data is now driven by the ability for indoor mapping to be available for all products. Indoor mapping as well is available as a standalone for those products to consume as well.
And then Brett, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to go to the next question if you want to jump.
So we got two questions related to QR codes. So I was mentioning earlier that to my knowledge, enterprise asset management doesn't actually create QR codes, but obviously you showed how it can ingest. So maybe you can just give some more specificity on the origins of that and how that works in the future.
Yeah. So what we showed there was a QR code. The QR code is generated at the space level. So part of what I was just talking about, that space hierarchy, creating the space records, that is an out-of-the-box functionality of the space management component and the space record component to be able to generate a QR code. That QR code is specific to that space. So leveraging a QR code, for different elements, right? Those you can start to create different ones. I know EM, you have the asset readers. If you have barcodes, right? So really, it's about, hey, are we looking at QR codes, barcodes, et cetera? What is the use case of that? The one we showed today was specifically tied to interfacing with the space record itself.
Awesome. We did get a question for those of you that are interested in hearing more. Heck yeah. Depending on whether you're a prospect or a partner, I encourage you to reach out to either your partner manager at ServiceNow or if you're a prospect or customer, your account executive, and then they can get you hooked up with the correct personnel. May end up being Brad or I, or may end up being one of our colleagues who some of them are at a conference right now. So that would be my suggestion for that. Let me go ahead and we're getting here at time here. Last thing I want to do is keep us over, but I know we do have a few more questions. Go ahead, Brad.
I was gonna take on the microsite question. Another question for Jeremy.
Sure. Yeah.
You leverage microsites for locations. Absolutely excellent question. The answer is yes. A lot of our customers are doing this. The idea of building a microsite that is specific for a location. Happy to demo that for you. But yes, this is my office. Here's all of the ways I interface with it, whether it's from the space perspective, make a reservation, whether it's opening up a case, just understanding what events are happening. Microsites are a great way to direct your employees into employee center to specific workplace and facilities requirements. Is it linked with FSM? I'll just chug through these here, Brad, a little bit.
Sure.
Is it linked with FSM? Absolutely, it can be, yes. So if you want the preventive maintenance scheduler to create an FSM work order because it's going to be dispatched and you want to leverage the capabilities of FSM, then yes, right? But what is the difference? Where do you bring in FSM versus kind of traditional maintenance? The idea is, what is the use case, right? FSM is great at the idea of, I need to do dispatch, I need to understand who's available at what time, and get a technician out or a vendor out at that specific time. So 100% yes can be tied into that story. Leverage it for what FSM does. Can we use GIS with FSM? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand or know the answer to that.
Yeah, maybe whoever asked that, if you're willing to provide some more specificity in a follow-up question written, or reach out to your account or partner rep to give us some more specificity on that. Thank you for meeting us with that additional info. Let me go ahead, and Brad's going to keep an eye on those questions here,
Yep.
but I do want to take this opportunity to just get a feel for where everyone is on their facilities management journey. So let me go ahead and pull up one more poll here as we wrap up. All right. So just want to understand where people are. Feel free to let us know. We'd love to know. And by all means, do not be shy. There is no right or wrong answer. Good response rate. It could be better. And everyone on here is the best of the best. I know it. Especially those of you that joined around the globe in the less AMS friendly time zones. Thank you. It is a global world that we live in. So appreciate you all meeting us here. We're getting close to time, so I'm going to go ahead and end this poll, but I'm going to share the results. And Brad, curious to get your take on this. A lot of people are evaluating, which definitely falls in line with the problem statement and some of the things we were discussing earlier. So we're certainly excited by that. Brad, anything you want to add?
No, I think this is very common, right? As we talked about, the world of facilities is changing, has changed, right? And everybody's trying to figure out what next.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about at time here. So I really want to thank you all for joining us. And Brad, thank you for that great demo and asking a lot of those, or helping answer a lot of those nuanced questions. If you're interested for more info on facilities management, as I've been saying, please do reach out to whoever the appropriate contact is for you, whether you're a partner or a prospect or customer. And it's very likely that you may end up on a call with Brad or I, or like I said, one of our colleagues that's elsewhere right now. But with